The huge weekend here in college basketball. The top four teams are playing each other this weekend. Number one, Michigan, and number two, Duke, are playing in Washington, D.C. That's obviously a neutral court game. Still going to be an awesome clash there. Dalton will be doing a prediction video on that game. And then also, you've got number three, Houston, hosting number four, Arizona, this weekend. Just two monster matchups. College basketball never fails to produce some great games, no matter the weekend. And I think we're going to see it this weekend with these two ball games. It's just amazing to me that you've got the top four teams playing each other, and I think these are going to be the top four seeds when it comes down to the NCAA tournament when that bracket is revealed here in about a month. I think it's going to be these four, and as the number one seeds, I think these have been the most consistent teams this year, the most dominant teams this year, the teams that have shown the most this year, I believe, and have really good resumes, all of them. And so I think, yeah, these are going to be the top four seeds. It's just amazing they're playing each other. What would be awesome is if the winners of these games could play each other. But that's obviously not going to happen, at least here in the regular season, because who knows? This could be the final four, right? Maybe if they're one seeds, all the one seeds make it again, like last year. I doubt that's going to happen, but it could happen. These four teams are definitely good enough. They are absolutely Final Four threats, all of them. And so I'm really interested to see how these games play out this weekend. It's just a great slate of basketball here. But I'm going to be predicting Arizona going to Houston, a huge matchup here in the Big 12. Just two fantastic teams. So we have to note here right off the bat, both these teams are coming off some, I hate to say a rough stretch here, but Arizona has lost two games in the last two of their last three. They lost two in a row after starting 23-0. They lost to Kansas, not this past Monday, but the Monday before. Then they lost to Texas Tech at home on Saturday. Now, they did bounce back with a nice win against BYU the other night on Wednesday night. So that was nice to see them get back in the win column. But they suffered their first two losses of the season back to back. No shame in those losses to Kansas and Texas Tech, but they did kind of taste defeat for the first time. Then Houston lost the other night, and that was their third loss. They have lost to Texas Tech, and they've lost to Tennessee, Texas Tech, and now they lost the other night as well on the road at Iowa State. Again, no shame in losing that. We did a reaction video to that great game. They had the game, won pretty much, and let it slip right at the end. But so both of these teams are kind of coming off, weeks where it hasn't looked so great, right? They have, Houston most recently slipping up against Iowa State. Yes, Arizona did bounce back with that win against BYU, but they have suffered some losses recently. So it's going to be interesting to see how these teams fight back after facing some adversity. I do think that the home crowd is going to be really helpful for Houston here. I think we've seen it all year how home court advantage really does affect the game. I'm not saying that a road team can't win, but especially in the Big 12, man, these Big 12 fans are awesome. I think about Allen Fieldhouse at Kansas. That's one of the best venues in the nation, if not the best venue in the nation. They really helped their team. I think about the other night when Houston went to Hilton and lost at Iowa State. That crowd was on fire. That was an insane atmosphere, and so you consider this, and I think this obviously tilts a little bit in Houston's favor with it being at Houston. Having this home crowd behind them. So I think that's going to be tough for Arizona to overcome right off the bat. Being on the road, I'm not saying they can't do it, but Houston, that's definitely an advantage having this game at home. When you look at KenPom, these teams are very, very similar. Arizona's at 3 in KenPom, and Houston's at 5. And defensive rating wise, I'm shocked actually that Houston's actually 4 spots behind Arizona. Houston sits at 7 defensive rating. And that's shocking. I hate to say that's low because that's an incredible rating, a top 10 defensive rating. But for Houston, that's low because in the past several years under Kelvin Sampson, it seems they've been 1, 2, or 3 in defense, and typically 1. So to be at 7 is kind of a drop off for Houston. That's really wild to say, but still a very solid defensive team. But Arizona's even better defensively. They're at 3. And I think actually this year that is probably accurate. Um, so that's kind of amazing that Arizona is that good defensively. Offensively, kind of shocking too. They're 10 and 11. Houston is actually at 10 offense, and Arizona's at 11, and that's kind of shocking. But I can see that, and I really think the difference is Kingston Flemings for this Houston team. He can create for his teammates, but he also can create his own shot. He really helps this team offensively. And Emmanuel Sharp has kind of come into his own this year. So Houston is actually up one spot on Arizona offensively, but very comparable teams. In fact, I think they're very similar because neither of these teams are going to wow you with their 3-point shooting. They have capable shooters, don't get me wrong, but they're not going to be jacking up threes left and right like let's say an Alabama team or an Illinois. Um, these teams are really defensive minded teams. They're going to get it done on the defensive end first and foremost, but they're going to be efficient on offense too. Don't get me wrong with that. They're both top 15 offenses. So really good teams here. I'm again really excited about this matchup. So kind of looking at some specifics for this specifics for these matchups. They've got both have two freshmen that are just studs and kind of really help their teams out. Leading scorers for both teams. Braden Burries averages 15 and a half a game for Arizona. He's their leading scorer. He's a freshman. And then you got Kingston Flemings, who's averaging 16 and a half points per game for Houston. So you got freshmen leading these teams in scoring. And again, it's been the year of the freshmen. And you got two freshmen I think have gone more under the radar, but two studs. And, I would say Braden Burries is the overall better shooter, like pure shooter. But I think Kingston Flemings is probably the overall better player in terms of just overall, he can, like I said, create, I think, more off the dribble and hit that mid-range shot, but he also has a three-point shot. And I think he's got the clutch gene. And so I really, really like Kingston Flemings. I'm curious to see if these two will guard each other and see how that plays out. But we've seen, man, Kingston Flemings had like a 40-point game earlier this season and a loss. So this is a really, really high level freshman matchup here. I'm curious to see how that's going to play out, but I think it leans just ever so slightly in Houston's favor with Kingston Flemings here. I will say the rebounding battle could be a big thing here. Arizona averages 43 and a half rebounds a game, and Houston averages like, I think it's 36 or 37. Let me make sure double check. Yeah, 37 rebounds a game for Houston, 43.7 rebounds a game for Arizona. So they got the rebounding edge here, and that makes sense because Toby Owaka averages almost 10 rebounds a game for Arizona. He is a ball hawk. He is going to get the ball. And I think that, obviously is a big thing for Arizona, especially offensive rebounding, getting them second chances is going to be important here in this game. So I think Arizona definitely has the rebounding edge there. If they could dominate that, they may be able to tilt the game in their favor here. Again, giving themselves second chances. Field goal percentage wise, Arizona is more efficient at 51% a game. That's pretty impressive, and 45% for Houston is still really good too. Um, the stats kind of look like they lean Arizona because you look at assists, they have more assists per game as a team, more blocks per game, more steals per game. So it kind of does look like it does lean in Arizona's favor. ESPN Analytics still gives Houston a 64% edge to win this game, 64% to 64.1% to 35.9%. So I'm kind of shocked that it's that high for Houston. But again, I think they're factoring in the home court advantage and now a couple losses from Arizona over the past couple of weeks. What's the difference going to be in this game? Again, I would highlight home court advantage. I think is going to be very, very helpful for Houston. But I think the difference in this game is going to be the guards for Houston. Okay, they've got three guards. Kingston Flemings, we've already highlighted. We've hardly said anything about Milos Uzan, who is a guy from the Final Four team last year. Plays really, really hard, really, really good player. But you got probably the best shooter out of all of them is Emmanuel Sharp. And I know that Arizona has really good guards too, because we haven't even mentioned Jaden Bradley, who's the heart and soul of this team. And he has really been impressive to me how he stepped up. He used to play for Alabama, so we're very familiar with him being Alabama fans. He played for Alabama a couple years ago in his freshman year and transferred to Arizona. And he's a senior now, and he is a leader and a really, really, really good player. Um, but I think that the three of the triplet from Houston, I think is overall better than Braden Burries and Jaden Bradley. Because they've got some other good players, but I think that these guards for Houston can make life really really difficult for the opposing guards, and I think we see like what they did to Christian Anderson from Texas Tech when they played at Houston. Man, they made it miserable for him in that game. And so, maybe they do that to one of these, Jaden Bradley and or Braden Burries here. And so I think that, those three guards for Houston are going to be the difference in this game. And I think they're gonna get just enough from, those guys like Chris Sanak and JoJo Tugler, who's a defensive menace for Houston. I think they're gonna get enough out of them to win this game at home against Arizona. I think it's going to come down to the wire. I think it's going to be a really close game. Would not be shocked if Arizona pulls this out. Because I haven't even mentioned guys like Anthony Del Orso, who can really stroke it off the bench for Arizona. Haven't even talked about Koa Pete, who's another star freshman. I know he actually kind of had an injury, so I'm not sure of his status in this game. I'm curious if he's even playing. He's kind of been a little underwhelming since that first game. So let's see. This one says Koa Pete out against BYU, but I'm not seeing anything yet about. No, it does say he is going to miss the Houston game. Now that's a big. I think that's a big revelation here. Knowing that Koa Pete, one of their star freshmen, is going to be out of this game. I think that really really hurts their chances here even more. So that's going to lean my pick towards Houston even more than not having Koa Pete Arizona. So I'm taking Houston in this game, and I think this is, by the way, the battle for first place in the Big 12. And I think whoever wins this game is going to have the inside track to being the 1 seed for the Big 12 tournament, which is obviously important. So I'm going to pick Houston in this game, but I think it's going to be a really, really high-level basketball game, and I'm looking forward to this huge Saturday here coming up in just a couple days.